Hi everyone, Peter here from Flow High Performance, and in this video we're going to go through some running drills that are going to help our acceleration technique. So before we get into the actual running drills, we need to firstly understand how we implement these into a training program. So the first thing we need to understand is that these are technique drills, they're not speed exercises. So we're not actually going to develop speed qualities, we're simply working on the technique of running, which is hopefully then going to transfer when we actually do our speed exercises. So these drills allow us to perform correct technique, assuming that we're doing it right, or at least work on the technique, and we can work on them in an easier environment. So basically they're isolated or slowed down in some way that's going to emphasize certain portions of running movement so that we can perform them correctly. These are a good idea to implement at the start of a speed session or on light days. So we could implement them basically before we do our speed exercises in order to prime ourselves and use it as a bit of a warm-up. Or we could do it on days that we're not doing our speed exercises or on lighter speed exercise days in order to work on technique, which is not going to be anywhere near as stressful as a heavy speed or power day. So a great way to do this is actually use it in a warm-up or in between the warm-up and the actual speed training session. So basically if we do our nice general warm-up, we then might do some of our technique drills before we then get straight into our main speed training session, and then obviously our power and strength training afterwards. So the first one here is basically an arm switch drill in a forward leaning position so that we replicate that our torso angle that we see in acceleration. So the athlete's just going to stand in a stationary position in a forward lean, so with a staggered stance. Don't worry about the lower body for now. All we're concerned about here is driving the arms back and forth. So I'll play the video and then explain it. So in this exercise, we are basically pumping the arms back and forth from a given cue or a given number. So if our coach or athlete or partner or something says 2, we do 2 arm switches. So we go 1, 2, and then we pause and then we continue based on the number they say, or you can simply do it by yourself in an ascending rhythm. So starting with 1, then 2, then 3, then 4, then 5, up to maybe 6, 7, or 8, until you get that rhythm right. So the next one is similar, but this one is for the lower body. So we're isolating the upper body here, we're not moving that, and we're only going to work on the position of the lower body and torso. So to start, you need to lean against a wall or a pole or some sort of stationary object in a forward leaning position. So we replicate those angles of acceleration, and basically you start with one knee up and the opposite leg on the ground. So I'll play the drill and then I'll explain it. So essentially what's happening in this drill is we're starting in that acceleration position and we're switching our legs before the other leg reaches the ground. So this leg's going to hit the ground before that one, this leg's going to leave the ground before this one hits the ground. So we're switching in midair. And we do this in the same way as we did the other arm switch drill. So we either call a number or we keep doing it until we find a good rhythm. And the important thing here is to make sure we keep this full extension. So it might look good at the start, but then as you continue to do the drill, we don't want that forward lean to become more upright, and we want to make sure we're still fully extending the hip and knee, so we get a straight line, which I didn't do quite a good job of towards the end in this video if you watch carefully. Also, the other things to make sure of is that knee drives nice and high and that ankle is dorsiflex, so the toes are pointing up. So now we're starting to get a little bit more specific with the technique drills. So this one is basically called a sled march. So we're doing everything, hitting all the positions of acceleration, except we're slowing down, we're just marching, we're not running. And we have a sled behind us to weigh us back so that we can maintain that forward lean. I'll play the video and then explain it. So if we watch here closely, we're basically replicating, now starting to use the whole body and starting to replicate what we see in the acceleration phase. And if we can pause at the right time, we can see that we hit all the same angles that we normally would when running. So what we see is this nice full extension of the ankle and knee, the hip and the knee. We have these nice big arms pumping back and forth. We're maintaining this forward lean and our head's down. We're also driving our knee up and keeping the toe pointed up. So we're working on all the same things we worked on the previous drill, but now progressing it into something a little bit more specific to actually running. Now the last progression of these technique exercises is a falling start. So in this drill, basically the athlete's going to fall forward, start falling forward, and before they hit the ground, so when they're at about 45 degrees, they're going to catch themselves with their legs and continue to accelerate. The reason this drill is employed is because it starts becoming more and more specific to actually running, but the limitations we have here are that we have that forward lean before we start running, so that when we actually take our first step, we're already in a near perfect acceleration position. So we have that nice full extension of the hip and the knee, that nice forward lean, the head's down, we're using our arms, and we have that knee driving high. So that now the next step, we're already in that forward leaning position, and now we want to punch the ground back and down as we have this nice shin angle here. And then continue running and only go about 10 meters with no more, because we're trying to isolate that acceleration phase. That's it for this video, guys. Thanks for watching, and hopefully you got something out of this. Be tuned for the next video, which is going to be a similar video, but this time on maximum velocity running technique drills. In the meantime, you can find Flow High Performance on Facebook and on Instagram. And on Facebook and Instagram, you'll find these research infographics, which are essentially the latest research in sports performance training, summarized into these easy to understand pictures, so that you can stay up to date with the latest research in sports performance training without actually having to go into the journals yourself and read the entire article. So if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe to this YouTube channel for the latest informative videos, and you might enjoy these other videos from this channel. So thanks for watching, guys, and hopefully you got something out of it.